Hello and welcome to my version 2 Subnautica walkthrough. Welcome back to any returning viewers. We're going to go ahead and do a complete walkthrough of this game. I've previously done one of these, but this time I think we're going to take it just a little bit slower. It'll be nice and relaxed. You get to listen to my my voice all the way through. I'm going to try and make this as complete as possible. I'm going to include some tips and tricks and a lot of things I wish I had known as a new player. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the intro in a sec here. I'll let you guys discover that on your own. There will be some spoilers here and there. So just do be aware of that. I'll try to minimize those, at least until we get to the appropriate part of the game. But if you're here, you've probably already been that far anyway. So you do want to worry about food and water. First tip, food, when you eat, you can go over 100% down here. You cannot do that with water, so it's best to go ahead and wait. In this case, we'd wait until we got down to 80 before we drink this, because that way we'll make maximal use of our available water. So the first thing we're going to cover is orientation, kind of navigation 101. That right there is your biggest and most obvious landmark.
Unknown. 0 human life signs detected.
It's roughly southeast of us, and it's going to lie on a northeast-southwest axis. So if you need an idea of where compass points are, the second big landmark is that. That's good. That mound of clouds there, you notice how that doesn't move the same as the background. That's northeast of us. Now if we rotate about 180 degrees, there's a similar mound over there. That's going to be southwest of us. There's important points of interest hiding behind those bits of mist, but we'll get to that later. The next thing we're going to do is kind of figure out where we're at. The map of the shallows here is static, and there's a certain area where you can spawn within the shallows. Not super critical unless you're speed running. As long as you're in the shallows, there's not really any bad spawns, especially once you get your base up and running. You select your base location carefully, and then it doesn't really matter where you originally spawned, because once you get a base going, you're not really ever going to come back to the life pod. So let's see. Landmark-wise, it looks like we're fairly far south. Oh, yep, there's the southern geyser. There are two geysers in the shallows, one near the southern end, one near the northern end. The one up north is one of my favorite places because it is chock full of resources. This one, not so much. So we're not going to spend a lot of time there. You can go explore that at your leisure, but it's not super useful. The first thing you're going to want to build is your scanner. You're going to use that the whole game, and you need 1 titanium, 1 copper. Oh, I'm coming back for those. That's handy. Sorry, 1 titanium, 1 copper, and a couple of acid mushrooms here.
Oxygen.
Let's see. I need to find another limestone outcrop to get that copper. The first 2 limestone outcrops you break are guaranteed to be 1 titanium and 1 copper. After that, it's kind of random. Theoretically about 50-50 odds. It doesn't truly alternate.
Of all powered equipment. Your probability of survival has just increased to unlikely, but plausible.
Alright. Now that metal salvage I picked up is going to be your main source of titanium, which is your main building material through the whole game. Go ahead and drink that. So, your fabricator works regardless of whether you repair everything else in here. It's not really necessary to do that, but we will probably do that once we get a repair tool. So, I'm going to refine that titanium. Now, one thing you want to notice with the fabricator is if you hold down shift after you click something, it'll keep the menu open. If you don't, the menu closes while the thing is building, then you have to go back in and
New blueprint acquired.
find what you were after. If you're trying to go a little bit faster, holding shift gives you the opportunity to pick out your next fabricated item while your other one is still building.
The scanner can be used to synthesize blueprints from
Okay.
salvage technology and to record alien biological data.
Now, since we have a little bit of extra titanium, we're going to go ahead and get us a basic oxygen tank. Make life just that little bit easier.
Acquired.
And I will go ahead and put a link to a video in the shallows. It's got a lot more, I mean in the, put a link to a video in the description that'll have a lot more detail about orienting yourself in the shallows. It's oriented towards speedrunners, as far as like picking a good spawn location, but it's kind of generally informative. So the very next thing we're really going to want is to get a Seaglide. That is going to dramatically improve our getting around ability. And you'll always find Seaglide fragments in boxes like this. There's a little bit of a burn mark on them there. So you'll see these kind of random cargo boxes scattered all over the shallows. And some of them don't have the burn marks, and sometimes they'll just be closed. They're not useful. But these ones with the Seaglides in them, it's just sheer dumb luck that we found two of them right here, right next to each other. So, you know, not complaining. Now I need to go get some stuff to build these, to build this. You know what? I'm going to scan some of this other stuff here too. That's a thing we can use later, just for decoration in the base. This will be, beacons are really handy for navigation. Oops. Now, a couple things about getting around before you have a Seaglide. You swim about 30% faster on the surface when you're just swimming under your own power than you do underwater. And you always swim faster when you don't have something in your hand. So if you're in a hurry to get to the surface because you're running out of oxygen or something, bear that in mind. And one thing I do like about the update they put out in December of 2022 is that you can now pin blueprints. If you're in the fabricator, you just right click on them. If you're going through the blueprint tab in your PDA, you can just click on things. So we're going to need to gather some materials. And while we do that, okay, kind of give you an idea how things lie. See, I mentioned that southern geyser down there. In addition to two geysers, there are two very large coral tubes. Again, the one up north is more useful. Wow, we are way far south on this one. Well, that's interesting. So I'm going to kind of aim northwest because we're pretty far south on this. Just give it about 10 seconds here. Okay, I recognize that little bit of coral sticking out, I think. Those are gasopods. They're not predators. As long as you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. If you get too close, they defensively release these gas pods that can kill you real quick. I'm gonna need a couple more of these. As far as food and water goes, you don't have to try real hard to capture fish and stuff. Just kind of get them as you go. If one swims in front of you, don't forget to take the opportunity. Food and water is something you have to think about. Water more than food. But not super hard if you just... Okay, I'll show you how to use a grav trap in a bit. They're I don't
acquired.
usually use them, but you can. It's an easy way to catch a whole bunch of fish at once, mainly. See, now we're traveling along the eastern edge of the shallows here. It's not help that night is falling. It's always just a little bit more difficult to get around at night. There's a headlight on the Seaglide. And you can build a flashlight, although I typically don't. The Seaglide light is a little bit dimmer. But, you know, you can see here there's basically enough light to see. Alright, so now we're approaching that northern geyser. Since we're up here. This little bit of wreckage here, this area here, is when I start further north, this is one of the first places I check for Seaglide fragments, because there's usually at least one. And if you scan a fragment of something that you've already scanned, you just get a little bit of extra titanium. As a rule, in this game, just kind of scan everything. Sometimes it gives you random bits of lore, sometimes it's just a basic description of the item. Yeah, see, there would have been 2 of them right here. Interesting. 3 of them, in fact. Alright. I don't need any more titanium right now. Now, on this trip, we're going to want at least 3 or 4 copper, because we need to make that copper wire and another battery. And we're going to want about 4 of these. You always have just a little more time than you think you do to get to the surface. Even after it gets to 0, you'll kind of start to black out for a minute. You have 3 to 5 seconds after that happens. Now, so there's the geyser right back there. If you head north from that a bit,
life
just
on this planet grows in unusually distinct and diverse ecological biomes. Further study recommended.
Anyway, if you go north from the geyser, just across this first little belt of kelp forest here, you will find life pod 3. Which will always have at least 1 Seaglide fragment outside of it. It's the only place you'll find like a permanently, specifically located Seaglide fragment that's the same from every game. Everything else is semi-random. The other thing that's good here is you get the compass blueprint.
New blueprint acquired. Integrate new EDA data.
You really think it'll carry 2 of us?
Your regular Seaglide tows a mass of 80 kilograms at over 30 kilometers an hour. The power cellar rig to this one should double that.
You think there's something out there that's faster?
I'm sure. And that's assuming it doesn't overload 3 meters from the life pod.
You're calm about this.
I'm seeing the engineering problem. If I stop seeing the maths, I'll be terrified.
Detecting increased local radiation levels. Trend is consistent with damage to the Aurora's drive core, sustained during planet fall.
Okay, now I'll tell you a little secret. That first message about radiation from the Aurora that we got gives us a bit of a timer. I forgot to time it this time, but if you know the timestamp of when that first message appears and multiply that by 5, it'll give you the time at which the Aurora will explode. Usually it's right around the 1 hour mark into the game. There's one thing I really want to do before the Aurora explodes, so I'm going to kind of hurry just a smidge here. Now this little belt of kelp forest here is something I typically refer to as the tooth zone, just because when you're speedrunning it's a handy place to come and look for stalker teeth. We'll talk more about that in a little while, we don't need those right now. This is the northern coral tube. This is where we're going to get the rest of the copper we need. And just a little bit of silver, I think. Just a little bit of quartz here. Okay. I'll leave that here. I'll come back for that later. In fact, I'm going to leave both of those here, because I want what's in here. You see these 3 sandstones?
Silver-based wiring kits are an essential component of many habitat modules.
Many resources in this game are...
in the local care systems. Sulfur is an essential component of the repair tool.
Most resources in this game are randomly distributed or semi-randomly distributed. But there's a few caves here in the shallow that are guaranteed to have a certain number of sandstone
Oxygen.
outcrops. Alright. For the moment. Now the other thing you might notice is that I'm breaking these really quick. It actually takes 3 clicks to break an outcrop like that. So I'm going to show you something real quick that I do all the time. You're going to go ahead and go in here and set your use key to scroll up on the mouse. That way, when you go up to a nodule, instead of click, 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 click to break it, you just scroll. You scroll and it breaks it and picks the thing up. If you scroll too fast, it'll kind of miss a little bit, so don't scroll up as hard as you can, but just be aware, that's something that can help you out. Alright, so we're going to swim back to the life pod. We have everything we need. Make the Seaglide now. I'm actually not going to make a grav trap right now. Incidentally, that scroll trick makes it a little bit easier to catch fish too. Oh, yeah, shouldn't have bothered trying to catch him. My inventory's full. But yeah, that scroll trick also makes it a little easier to catch fish, especially peepers, because they are probably the hardest ones to catch. They swim pretty vigorously when they see you coming. And I think this is actually just about the furthest south I have ever started. That's fun. So I think for this video we're just going to go until I get that first base set up. Alright. So we're going to make 2 lubricant. Save one of them.
Is essential in construction of vehicles and power plants.
Yeah, save some rubber, make some rubber.
Weapons were removed from standard survival blueprints following the massacre on Abraxas Prime. The knife remains the only exception.
So now I gotta have to make the Seaglide. Unpin that blueprint.
The Seaglide will increase your effective exploration range. For your safety, please pack supplies for long journeys and stay within 5 kilometers of the nearest life pod or habitat.
I'm also going to upgrade my oxygen tank because I have a little bit of silver, a little bit of glass. That's why I got those 4 quartz while we were in that tube. Just a little more oxygen capacity. One thing to note when you're making oxygen tanks, some people will make a spare tank. You do have to make sure that you switch to the spare tank before you leave your habitat. Otherwise it will be empty. And what you don't want is to need your spare tank, try to switch to it, and have it be empty. That's ended at least one hardcore run for me in the past. I'm also going to add fins.
The fabricator draws from available data to provide environment-appropriate equipment using locally available materials. For your safety, this setting cannot be overridden.
I'm also going to get the repair tool. Right-click here so it'll stop smoking and sparking.
LifePod secondary systems online, running full environment diagnostic and outputting results to databank.
This is Aurora. Distress signal received. Rescue operation will be dispatched to your location in 9 hours. Continue to monitor for emergency transmissions from other life pods.
Now I tend to keep at least one spare battery on me at all times, because the other thing is occasionally you run out of power on that Seaglide. You don't want that to happen at a bad time and not have a spare battery. Okay, so let's talk about water. We're getting a little low. The easiest
Life
ways.
forms may have unexpected applications. Utilizing alien resources is a proven survival strategy.
The easiest ways to get water is with a bladderfish. They will give you filtered water, which is worth 20 per bottle, which isn't stellar, but it's not bad. It's certainly enough to keep you going.
This is Ozzy from the cafeteria. What the hell, guys? They didn't warn us this might happen. Our pod was almost crushed by this sea moth bay on the way down. Now we're hanging on the edge of a cave system, and this grim-looking snake thing's trying to eat through the hull. Come get us already.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
So your radio will give you several of those navigational beacons for other life pods. We'll go investigate those at some point. They're not like mandatory required missions, but a lot of them have interesting stuff nearby, important lore, things like that. So you notice I took a couple samples of these giant coral tubes. Once you have a knife, you can do that. And I also have a little bit of salt that I picked up earlier. And that's the other early game way to get water. Is 1 salt and 1 coral tube. Gives you bleach.
Bleach is an essential chemical used for cleaning wounds and purifying water.
Which lets you make disinfected water.
Preparing the day's water ration ahead of time will help ensure against dehydration and eventual death.
And disinfected water, instead of 20 per bottle, is 30 per bottle, and you're going to make 2 of them for every unit of bleach, which is definitely more efficient. So that's going to be your best way to make water as soon as you have a knife. A little bit of coral tube and a little bit of salt. So just kind of keep an eye out for salt. Keep 1 or 2 of them on hand in storage. Kind of keep a fish on hand too here and there. Those are boomerang fish. The peepers have about the best food value of anything in the shallows, but you can eat pretty much any kind of fish. Just take it back and cook it. The other thing to know is that once you cook a fish, it starts to go bad. But if you leave it in storage in a raw form, it'll keep. The other thing you can do is if you have salt, you can preserve it, and then you can keep it indefinitely. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is go gather some more gold and silver. A couple more of those. A bit of table coral, because we are going to build a habitat builder. Need just a little bit more of that. not super used to this end of the shallows. And it's not as easy to navigate. Okay, now the Seaglide, you should go lots faster, but it doesn't work if you poke your head above the waves. See that propeller at the back stops spinning. What you can do though is travel just beneath the waves, and if you're just barely, you see my depth indicator is like 1. If you're right above there, you can keep the Seaglide going and fill your tank. If you're just right below the surface, you're kind of in that boundary layer there. Alright, where are we at here? Okay, there's the geyser. I think there's the tooth zone. This is where I want to be. Yeah, okay, there's the coral tube. I'm gonna slip in here, because there's 3 more of those sandstone nodules. Oof. Now, before you have the Seaglide, those guys are a major threat. Once you have a Seaglide, as long as you run away as soon as they pop loose from their flowers, they're much less of a problem. Alright. At least a couple of silver, at least a couple of gold. And a little more. There's a little bit more silver and gold in here. Okay, there's one more there. Should be one more in here. Now watch me get lost. There it is. Okay. Alright. I need a gold. Alright, there's another place I can check here. Right over on this eastern edge. There's a vertical cave here. There's the geyser, so it should be right there. There. There's that other gold I need. There's like 3 or 4 of them in here. And if you run out of inventory space early on, you just drop any lead, because you really need, I probably want a couple for a foundation, but really you need very little lead. And you'll pretty much always end up with more than you need. Okay, I did get them all. Looks like a crashfish egg. Not something I need right now. Yeah, those were super easy to find this time. Oop. Time to go. Need another beacon. Just make sure I have everything. So need 2 silver for the wiring kit. Coral and gold for the computer chip. Yep, good. we're going to need a bit of titanium and some quartz and stuff to start the base. Are you kidding me? Missed. Oh. Almost forgot about that. I was saving it because we had too much water before.
New blueprint acquired. The Builder, too, is designed to construct habitats capable of withstanding extreme environmental conditions.
So you can see for the compass we're going to want a little more silver and a little more copper. We're also going to need some more copper for making solar panels for the base.
Receiving pre-recorded distress call, laying back.
This is Lifepod 3, uploading our coordinates. We're plugging some holes in our emergency Seaglide, so if we're late for the rendezvous, don't panic. Also, don't go home without us. Seriously. 3 out.
Now you can use
Signal
those.
location uploaded to PDA.
You can use those beacons too as navigational points, because you know that the Life Pod 3 is right at the north end of the shallows. You know Ozzy's off to the east, or west, sorry. But they'll turn off automatically once you've investigated. I like to turn them off anyway, just so I don't clutter the view. Boy, I'm not sure I have enough titanium. Not as far west as I thought. There we go.
Caution. Continued degradation of the Aurora's drive core may result in a quantum detonation. Continuing to monitor.
Yeah, it's moving kind of fast this time. There's one wreck where there's a collision gap that you really want to get into before the Aurora blows, because the gap closes after it blows. So I'm going to kind of hurry a little bit here. Now, right over here is my favorite place ever to build a base, where the land kind of falls away down towards the grassy plateau there, right next to this geyser. There's a little bit of kelp there with seeds. There's a little bit of, well, there's a whole bunch of resources in that geyser and in the caves that are connected to it. And you have lots of space to build right here too. So, I'm gonna build. And you can build your base however you want, as complex or simple as you please. I have enjoyed this design here. You can only build so far off the seabed. So I like to connect 4 of these eye tubes. Or, not eye tubes, sorry, that's the wrong term for them. T compartments, there we go. Just rotate them until they all connect up. And I'm a little low on titanium, so I'm going to just hold off on building the last one for the moment. you can rotate any of this stuff using the bracket keys on your keyboard.
Power restored. All primary systems online.
I'm gonna have to go back to the life pod for titanium.
Oxygen. Oxygen.
So yeah, you kind of go black for a sec there. Your screen can be completely black, and you still have a second or two to make it to an oxygen source.
30 seconds.
Those stalkers sound a lot scarier than they actually are. They get mad if you go after their horde of salvage. They like to play with it. All you really have to do is move. And even if they do hit you, they're not super dangerous. They sound a lot scarier than they are.
This is Life Pod 6. I have a passenger on board. Coordinates attached. We've landed a kilometer from the crash site, but there's radiation in between us and the rendezvous. Request immediate assistance. 6 out.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
It's good to always keep like one med kit on hand. At some of these small wrecks, there should be more of those beacon fragments, just like that one. There we go. Those are super handy. It's one of the toughest things about Subnautica is that there's no in-game map. So you really have to navigate kind of by dead reckoning, by landmarks, and once you have them, by beacons. They can really make your life a lot easier. Now, one thing to know about solar panels is they're easy to build. Pretty much set it and forget it power. They just don't work at night. And they don't work if you are too deep.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Wait a sec. Oh, I put that on there wrong. Darn it. Darn it. Okay, well. Hang on, I'm gonna clear a little inventory space. Before I could fix that other thing.
power only.
A base without power will not provide oxygen. Ugh, another thing that I built in there.
Warning, emergency power only. Oxygen production offline.
Now, unlike in some games, things that you drop don't despawn. They will, however, roll downhill. So I'll have to go pick those up in a minute. There. Being able to scroll that wheel also makes picking things up a lot easier too. Now I like to build 2 of these. You don't have to. When you're kind of mass producing a whole bunch of stuff at once, like if you're trying to process a whole load of metal salvage all at once. It just makes it easier. You can get more done faster. Swapping back and forth between them. Okay.
Power restored. All primary systems online.
Yeah, the reason I like to set it up like this is because you can basically put lockers all around this sort of central pillar area. And it's great for storing things. Alright, put those away for the moment. I actually have enough to go ahead and make that compass. I'm gonna need a bit more quartz, and I'm gonna need some more silver and stuff. So we're gonna go play the geyser because it's a gold mine, literally. Geyser has 2 main levels. On this top level, there are 3 caves, nooks around the perimeter, and they have 2, 3, and 2 sandstone nodules in them. Nope, 2, 3, and 3. My bad. Nice. That's all we're going to go after for now. Going deeper, there's more stuff down there. Take a little bit of thermal damage if you're right over the geyser at this depth. When you get down close to it, you can take a lot more. Right here, it's pretty negligible. But if you're, see, if I was out over that thing, up over the mouth of that right now, while it's going off, I would die.
Be advised, a common complication for cave divers is loss of orientation, followed by eventual asphyxiation.
There's a fragment there. Okay. Yeah, that thing is just chock full of good stuff. Oh, I missed my little titanium pieces. Alright. Finish building those. I'm actually gonna... There we go. Now, have to watch your base's hull strength. If you get below 0, it springs leaks and the base floods. You have to bring the strength back up above 0 before you can drain it. And generally speaking, yeah, you do that by adding foundation pieces, bulkheads, and reinforcements. Which I don't think, yeah, reinforcements. We don't have the bulkhead blueprint yet. But foundations are kind of the most basic one. They just have to be connected to your base. So what I tend to do is put copper, silver, and gold in here, along with any like electronic stuff. I'll put survival type stuff in here and sort of biologics. I'll add more lockers later and kind of spread things out more because you end up needing to store a lot of stuff and you need to stay organized. Alright. So, there's one more thing I want to do before we close this video. And it's best done if we have a rebreather. How much silver do I have? Enough. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is grab some of this creek vine for fiber. Make myself a rebreather. Go. Okay. Alright. I think we'll have plenty of time. We'll talk more about stalkers and stalker teeth in the next video, I think. Oh, nice. There's one of them who's got a little pile right there. Alright, we'll come back to that. So we're going to head out here just into the edge of the grassy plateau a little bit.
Survivor, you have exceeded your weekly exercise quotient by 500%. Data indicates that swimming was your favorite activity. Be sure to vary your routine for uniform muscle development.
While we're here,
Local scans show a nearby cave entrance, depth 90 meters, leading to an unknown environmental biome.
PVA's chatty today. Alright, so while we're out here, I'm going to keep an eye out for those boxes with laser cutter fragments in them. This is a good place to get them. But that's where we're headed. Just right on the edge. You just follow the edge north from your base. The edge of the grassy plateau here. The reason you want a rebreather is because you're going to be going just below 100 meters and your oxygen efficiency decreases, so it starts dropping faster than. So it'll say you have 60 seconds, but you actually got quite a bit less at that depth.
Short-range scans suggest this biome supports extensive biodiversity and connects to a number of small cave networks.
Oh, neat. There's another one. Those are sand sharks. All you have to do is move a little bit. It's kind of a hassle trying to do this while they're coming after you. See, he's like bumping into me, and it's not even. They hide in the sand to give you a little bit of a jump scare. But anyway, this is the thing I was trying to tell you about. You can slip right in here, as long as you do it before the Aurora blows up. That closes. You also don't want to be in here when the Aurora blows up, because you'd be stuck.
New blueprint acquired.
That's nice. Don't want that. This is the other way in, but you need a laser cutter to get through those doors. Now what I'm really hoping to get here is at least enough for the battery charger. Water. And maybe the modification station. Nice. This is the other thing that's really helpful in here. This vehicle upgrade console. Really the easiest place to get it if you get in here soon enough. This is just one of those places where there's lots of stuff to scan. You just kind of have to watch your oxygen. Every once in a while you'll find a loose laser cutter fragment like this that isn't scannable. It's just kind of a fake out.
Print acquired. 30 seconds. Print acquired.
Like that one, so you can't scan it. No, I don't need any more of those, so I'm gonna go. I don't need the titanium bad enough to stick around. Oh. Okay, so that's it for that. Forgot one thing, I was gonna make an air bladder, because it makes it really a lot faster to get to the surface when you're in a place like that. Okay. So that's the only part that we really have to get to before the Aurora blows. Lots of good stuff at this wreck, though, so you might as well get it while you're here. Plant pots, which we'll talk more about that next time, too. That's going to be important for food. Plant shelves, which are basically plant pots you can put on the wall.
New blueprint acquired.
See, that's the other side of that door I was telling you about. Another one of those.
Warning. Local radiation readings suggest the Aurora's drive core has reached critical state.
Yeah.
Quantum detonation will occur within 2 hours.
It's a lot closer than normal.
New blueprint acquired. New blueprint acquired.
Okay.
New blueprint acquired.
And in addition to the stuff you get inside the wreck, there's a whole bunch of fragments laying around outside here.
Integrating new PDA data.
Scanner room, bioreactor, and sometimes Seaglide pieces. Oh, it's not Seaglide, Sea Moth, which is kind of the next step up transportation-wise. Also, there's usually lots of metal salvage around wrecks like this. Watch out for those. If you're ever exploring somewhere and you start randomly getting hurt and can't figure out why, it's probably one of them. And there's life pod 6, which I'm pretty sure we gotta... Yeah.
30 seconds.
You know what? I'm gonna go up before we go down. Probably the Aurora will not blow before we finish this video. When it does blow, you don't want to be near it. Oh, that'll be nice. Ultra-guide fins.
New blueprint acquired. Integrating new PDA data. Integrating new PDA data.
Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. We're not in immediate danger. Where are the
Integrating new
rescue
PDA
teams?
data.
The Aurora didn't make it. So, where are the rescue teams? They're dead, ma'am. We have rendezvous coordinates, but the route's irradiated. So, what are you going to do? I'm head of human resources, ma'am. This is not my expertise. But the PDA says if we can find some lead, we can make radiation suits. Oh, there! I am not setting foot outside this life pod without the proper protection. Don't worry. I'll go.
Integrating new PDA data.
This grassy plateau here is a good place early on to get quartz. Fairly open, but the stuff does hide kind of between the grass a little bit. Didn't get nearly as many fragments back at that other wreck as you normally do. What's that? I don't need that right now. But there's some here. Bioreactor fragment. You can't really build a bioreactor until a little bit later anyway. You have to get a bigger room to put it in. Yes, you're big and scary.
Blueprint acquired.
They just kind of thrash around. Their targeting's not very good. I might have left that a little bit long. A little close, not bad. Oh, these are reefbacks. They're also harmless, except occasionally they have tiger plants on the back. They also occasionally have these shiny barnacles that will contain either copper or silver. Bink. There we go. Alright, well, I think that's it for this time. I'm going to head back to base. That was everything I wanted to show you. I hope this has been a good introduction, and come back next time for part 2.